IT Bombay electrical engineering graduate, and he's a specialist in biometric security systems. The first company he started, Herald Logic, was actually based on his ideas in fingerprint imaging. This is a company he started in 2000. Vishal is also a noted speaker. He's a keen blogger in the area of information security. I encourage you to follow him. And he's also the driver behind the innovative technology that you're going to see today. So that's it for my side of it. Vishal, it's over to you.
Thank you, Lynn. Thanks a lot for the introduction. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, evening, as the case may be. Today we are going to, this is a very short webinar. We're going to keep it under 25 minutes or so. And in this session, we're going to cover the topic of how do we secure unstructured information, documents, emails, designs, and drawings, which have been discovered by Symantec DLP, specifically within the context of when this information needs to go outside of the enterprise. So the DLP system, Symantec DLP, does a great job of securing information while it is within the enterprise. But the same information in a lot of scenarios, as we see, needs to also go to external agencies, to external systems. And today's session is going to cover security in that context. Okay, just a quick, since we are since this is only 25 minutes, we're going to do a very brief introduction about the company Seclor, and then we're going to look at what is the DLP's reach and in the modern context, like I just described, and then how do we extend the controls, specifically in the case of Symantec DLP, to when this collaboration is happening with external users on cloud systems on mobile devices, right? And then we have a demo for you to actually see, how this integrated system actually works. Right. So just to give you a big, brief background about the company, Seclor is a focused information rights management solution provider, and for those of us on this call, for whom the term is new, we're going to define information rights management a little later in the session today. We have global presence starting with Singapore all the way to US West Coast. Over a period of time, the company has been recognized as one of the leaders by industry and analysts associations worldwide. And some of the largest enterprises in the world today use Seclor's technology for securing their most confidential information. Right. That's just a quick background about the company. So now coming to the topic of today's session, DLP systems were designed or have been designed to do a great job of protecting information while it is within the enterprise, and to make sure that the secured information or the confidential information does not leave the perimeter of the enterprise through endpoints, through storage systems, through network devices, through network technologies, and so on. Right. And the whole premise of DLP systems is to discover confidential information, and the discovery rules could be dependent on keywords, on patterns, dependent on the context of the enterprise, and then to monitor and control the flow of this information. So what kind of information can be sent via emails? What kind of information can be uploaded on public websites and file sync and share services, or can be copied on USB drives, and so on? The whole premise of a DLP system is controlling the flow of information. Now, in the modern context, enterprises, of course, have a lot of internal collaboration that happens, and this collaboration can be monitored and controlled by the DLP system. However, the realities on the ground are that a lot of times confidential information needs to go outside of the enterprise in legitimate ways. So these are not situations where confidential information, somebody is trying to attempt or is trying to send it outside and the DLP system detects it and blocks it. Right? These are situations where it genuinely needs to go outside. And when I say outside, it could mean to external agencies like suppliers, third-party workforce, customers and partners, right? Lawyers, auditors, and so on. So a whole host of external agencies. Right? There could be one set of recipients for this confidential information. The same confidential information may require to go to personal mobile devices. Now, this is for enterprises where mobility is key, but still confidential information being sent to mobile devices is not something which can be blocked. So one option, of course, that is available is to just block this mobile devices and this can be done by a DLP system or various other systems. But most enterprises today are not at a stage where mobile devices can just be blocked. Right? The information a lot of times also needs to go to cloud-based systems. So these could be file sync and share services or even transaction systems or cloud-based application systems. Right? So now if you look at the modern context, in the modern context, the enterprise is collaborating within itself, but a lot of confidential information is also going to external agencies, it's going to a lot of personal mobile devices, and it's also going to a lot of cloud systems. Right? And a few years ago, maybe a decade ago, this boundary between what is the enterprise and what is the external world was a very clearly defined boundary which was protected by the DLP system. But today these boundaries are becoming increasingly vague, and therefore the DLP's systems reach today needs to extend to all these scenarios. When information is going out, when information is going to a mobile device, and when information is going to a cloud service. Right? So it's almost like a DLP for controlled environments and a DLP for uncontrolled environments, like external computers, where presumably a DLP agent could not be installed, or mobile devices or cloud systems, right? So the candidate solution almost would take a DLP policy about who can access this kind of information, what is the nature of the confidential information, what are the regulatory compliance frameworks which control this kind of information, and would extend it to, let's say, when information is being sent to a service provider, right? And then by extension to all the other contexts. So what was a very nice little perimeter around the enterprise, now even in the slide has become a very amorphous boundary of the scope of where enterprise information may exist. So enterprise information may exist on third-party workforces, devices, partners, customers, personal devices by employees, and cloud systems. Right? And the challenge today that we have is how do we extend the reach of the DLP system to all of these scenarios. Right? Okay, so let's park that objective for some time, and let's look at a different technology, and then we'll come back and see how the two technologies can work together, DLP and secure or file secure. Right. So let's assume that there is a set of documents or a set of pieces of information. Right. They could include board presentations, nuclear power plant design, patent information, payroll information. Right. And we keep that information, in one place. Right. And then around this information, we define the rightful usage policies. So the rightful usage policies around the information are effectively answers to these 4 questions. The 4 questions are: number 1, who can use this information? And the most important aspect of this question is that the who can have people within or outside of the enterprise. So, for example, board communication can be accessed by the executive team, but also by an external set of board members or a company secretary or a general counsel. Right? So the most important thing is that this group of people could be within or outside of the enterprise. The second is, what can each of these people do with this information? So can they see it, can they edit it, can they print it, can they forward it, and so on. Right. The third is, how long can this information be used by each of these individuals? Right. All of these external relationships, specifically with customers or vendors, are almost by definition temporary. Right. They may last 1 month or they may last 5 years, but they are temporary. And therefore, whenever these relationships end or go through a change, there is a need today for retroactively applying security permissions. So it is possible that while an enterprise is a vendor or a service provider, they may be the recipients of confidential payroll information or confidential customer information. But as soon as that relationship ends, not only is it critical to not send any more information to that enterprise, it's also critical that all the information that has been sent already should be remotely destructed if possible. Right. So how long can each of these entities or people use this information? And the last is, from where? From where can this information be used? Like devices, trusted networks, and so on. So now we take this policy, right? And around the policy, we create, the answers to all of these questions. We create a policy, and then the policy is embedded into the content itself. So this is the key, let's say the key element of this new class of technology, which are called rights management systems, where the policy around the rightful use of the technology is embedded within the content itself. The rightful use of content is embedded within the content itself. Right? And now when that content, going back to our earlier context, now when that content, let's say, is going to a partner organization, the policy that we've just defined is embedded into the content. So the partner organization can only use it to view and edit and respond back to the enterprise, just as an example. Right? And only for the next 7 days, and only from a trusted set of devices. Right? Now the most important thing here is that it's almost like the information is going, but with almost like a string attached, which links it back to the enterprise security policy, which can be defined by the DLP system in this case, or it could be other transaction systems also. Right? So a combination of DLP systems as well as secure file secure, Symantec DLP as well as secure file secure, the capability of this combined system is that information, while it is within the enterprise, can be secured. Confidential information which does not need to go outside can be blocked, and confidential information that needs to go outside can be made to come under the command and control of the enterprise security framework and policy by defining rights management or secure file secure controls around the information itself before it is allowed to go out. So what we are going to showcase today is an integrated offering of Secure File Secure, which is the information rights management product from Secure, and Symantec DLP, which is the leading DLP system. And what this combination can do is, number one, detect confidential information. And this detection could be based on content, keywords, file signatures, and so on. Apply usage controls to this information. So who can do what with this information, when and from where? Allow confidential information to go to these uncontrolled environments that we talked about earlier. And these uncontrolled environments can be external agencies, they can be cloud services, and they can even be mobile devices. We will not be able to cover all these scenarios in today's demo, but we'll try and cover one scenario, let's say for external agencies. Control, the next thing is control usage of this information. So to be able to actually control that the external agency should only be able to use it for the next 10 days and only do this for viewing and editing, but not printing and forwarding, right? And last but not the least, what the combined technology also allows is audit. So auditing of what exactly happened to this information while it was within the enterprise and when it left the enterprise boundaries, right? So who actually did what with this information, when and from where, right? Now this combined capability is very powerful because this for the first time actually creates a scenario where a uniform set of policies can be applied to information as it is traveling within or outside of the enterprise, right? Without stopping the flow of this information. So if information genuinely needs to go to people outside of the enterprise, so be it, right? It will go. But all the security controls that should be applied on this information are also applied when this information is going outside. Right. So I'm going to shift to the demo now, and I'm going to narrate it as the demo is playing out. So in this demo today, what we're going to see is an integration of Symantec's leading DLP system with the leading rights management system, which is Secure File Secure. So what we're going to do first is define a policy. So we are logging in as an administrator of the Secure File Secure system here, right? And in this example, only 2 policies are there, but there could be any number of policies defined within the system. Right. So in this case, there is a policy for delinquent customers or delinquent customer lists. So let's take the example of a credit card company which is constantly creating a list of customers who are delinquent, and this process in our example is outsourced to an external agency. Right? So the process of calling the customer, following up for payments, maybe even sending people over to collect checks and so on. Now this process is outsourced. Right? That happens very often. Right? So as a part of this policy, an internal revenue assurance group and a set of external people, and this could be, instead of people, it could be companies or enterprises, have been provided access to this kind of data, which is delinquent customers data, right? So who can access? What can each of these people do with this information? So these very, very granular usage control rights are control. Can this information be viewed? Can it be edited? Copy. So while a delinquent customer list is open, can a part of that document be copied and pasted somewhere else? Can it be printed? Screenshots, running macros, take it full control. Offline is, can this information be accessed while the device is not connected to the network or to the control system? And redistribute is sharing or forwarding outside of this closed user group, right? So the policy has been defined around the rightful usage of this kind of information, which in this case is a delinquent customer list. And the list of people specifically include internal people. This could be Active Directory groups which have been defined, or it could be external agencies or external people. Right. So moving on, these this policy has been defined, and now this policy, just to set the context, this policy definition is like a 1-minute job. To define the policy around the rightful use of board communication or HR and payroll information is a user interface, or it's a interface that you just saw. And now once this policy is defined, shifting over to the Symantec DLP console, where we define the DLP policy around this information, right? So in the DLP policy, we've taken in this example, given the time that we have, a very simple DLP policy where it is detecting the content based on just the existence of 2 keywords, which are credit card and overdue. Right? Now, in most real-life cases, DLP policies are not this simple, but in the interest of time, we've taken a very, very simple policy that if a document contains credit card and overdue, then it should be automatically tagged as delinquent customer list. Right. Moving on. So this is the DLP policy for detection, and around that, what Seclor has done is that we've created a very nice and clean method of within the DLP console applying that usage policy that we just defined within the Seclor file secure context, right? So as a response to that detection, a Flex response plugin has been written such that the Symantec DLP system can automatically apply the Seclor file secure policy on detection of this kind of content. Right? And it's really as simple as that the policy has been defined, and based on keywords or patterns of different kinds, right, the policy is applied to content by the Symantec DLP system. Right? And of course, all the constraints of which devices and which network locations or which local desktop locations should be monitored can be defined. Those are standard capabilities of Symantec DLP. Now let's see an end user is actually creating this this kind of content. Right? So let's say here is a delinquent customer list actually for the month of March, right, with the overdue amounts and so on. And this delinquent customer list has just been exported by a transactional application, or a user has downloaded this as a report from some transaction system. Now, as soon as this data is exported or it's created, the Symantec DLP system is automatically going and classifying this data. And because of this seamless connectivity or integrator between Symantec DLP and Seclor File Secure, right, it's automatically applying the usage policies that we saw earlier. So only the internal revenue assurance group and the 2 external partners can access this kind of information. So that is automatically done without any kind of human or manual intervention. And the way this is noticed, and it's a small icon over there, but there is a red lock which appears on this document as soon as the Symantec DLP has discovered this and classified this as delinquent customer data. Right? So the red lock is a visual reaffirmation that now this is a policy controlled piece of information. Right? And then what happens in and this, of course, this event or incident is captured in the central Symantec DLP event log, so that all kinds of analytics can be done. It could be exported into an SIEM system and so on. Now, when someone tries to, now these usage policies that we talked about earlier have been embedded into the content itself. And now, when anybody tries to access this information, one of 2 things will happen. Either that user is an authorized person in that list of users, in which case when one of the people, let's say from the revenue assurance group, tries to access this information, or an external user tries to access this information, the secure file secure system authenticates that user to be one of the users who are allowed access to this kind of information. And then the appropriate rights that have been provided to him. So in this case, this person who's just attempted to access this information can only view it, but not edit, not print, not share, not do anything else with it, except for, of course, this is a screen grab. Right. And once this policy is accepted by that user, only then the actual content opens up in the native application. So in this case, it is Word, or this is Excel. Right. And now if he tries to do anything which is not allowed, so for example, if he tries to do edits on the document when he's not allowed to edit, then the usage control framework of Secure File Secure kicks in and prevents him from, for example, editing or printing the file if there is an attempt to print, or if there is an attempt to copy and paste content. So part of the content is copied and attempted to be pasted somewhere else, then those attempts are also controlled. Right? So any attempt to breach the usage policy which has been defined within the context of Secure File Secure and implemented by the DLP system is controlled and is blocked. And as we will see very quickly, it's also being monitored. Right? So in coming back to this, the attempts to, right, so what happens in case the same piece of content is attempted to be accessed by somebody else, right? So who's not a part of, let's say, the revenue assurance group, or who's not one of the agencies that has been tasked with calling up these clients, is that number one, the document does not open. Right? So all that person sees is that you don't have access to this content, and if you want access, please request the owner of this information. Right. Yeah. Okay. And then the document does not open, it closes down. And then the last bit, which is interesting, is the capability to monitor this information as it is flowing within and outside of the enterprise. So within the enterprise, Symantec DLP system already monitors what's happening to this information, who is sending what kind of information and to whom, and so on. Once it goes outside, and of course within the enterprise also, what has happened to this information from the time it has been protected or created is captured by very, very rich auditing capabilities of Secure File Secure. So the fact that this information was protected, it was attempted to be viewed, right? It was attempted to be edited, which was not allowed. So all authorized activities as well as unauthorized attempts are captured and reported back into a central system which has dashboarding and reporting capabilities. Of course, in this example, we are just seeing the life history of one document. But this information, even as a collection, is very, very powerful, and it helps enterprises monitor what is happening to this information as it flows within as well as outside of the enterprise. Right. So this is one example of a scenario where confidential information is automatically detected by Symantec DLP, right? And usage policies, which may include internal as well as external users, right, are defined and implemented by the Symantec DLP system. Now that information is allowed to go out, and that's dependent a little bit on the kind of information. Sometimes the policy may not allow the information to go out at all. Sometimes the policy may allow information to go out, but then to make sure that it is being consumed by the policies which have been defined by the enterprise. Okay. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is shift over to another scenario where which has a little more human intervention. Right? So we're going to shift to a scenario in which the document has been manually classified, and then the Symantec DLP system takes that classification and based on the classification automatically applies a secure file secure policy. So it's not based on the content of the document, but it's based on the classification. And the classification in case of secure file secure, it comes with a basic classification system built in as a part of the product. But the classification could also be based on third-party systems. Right? Okay. There you go. So this is an example where similar functionality, we're going to stay in that same context where the policy has been defined, but in this case, over and beyond the definition of a policy is a set of classifications have been defined, and these classifications could be uniform across the enterprise, or it could be department or organization unit specific classifications. Right? So in this example, we've taken a very simple classification scheme from top secret to public, and these classifications have been configured within secure file secure. Right. And of course, we have this policy which has been defined, which showcases that the delinquent customers and who are the rightful users of this kind of information. Right. So this part is the policy definition is common. Now going back to the Symantec DLP console. Now in this case, the policy that we're going to define is not going to be based on the content, but is going to be based on the classification of that document. So very similar interface where we go back to the Symantec DLP console, and over here we define the patterns based on the classification instead of the content. Right? Now again, we've taken very simple policies here, just the classification is confidential. In practice, it could be a combination of the classification and the content of that document. Right? And the actions that need to be applied. And in this case, the action is automatically apply secure file secure policies on this kind of information. Okay, you're going to save this, and then of course just have a look at where are the places where we want this rule to be active. So it could be a network file server, or it could be a local device. In either case, the rules and policies can be applied. And now what is possible is that the document is, let's say, just to get a sense of what is the document, and this is a document containing the delinquent customers. And now as soon as that document is closed using the classification capabilities of secure file secure, a very simple prompt asking the end user to classify this content which is just accessed is prompted. There's a very simple configurable classification prompt, and the user in this case classifies this document as confidential or public or any of the others. Now based on this classification, the Symantec DLP system can go look at the classification and automatically apply the rules and policies which have been defined within the secure file secure context. So in this case, the classification is confidential, and in the Symantec DLP console we had said as soon as confidential document is created, right, automatically apply, let's say, a generic or a specific policy to that information. And the rest of the workflow is very similar, where let's say the event is detected and and registered in the Symantec DLP event framework. And of course, once the document is opened, the rightful usage permissions around that document are implemented. So in this case, it can only be viewed but not edited and printed and so on. So any attempts to do any of the actions which is not allowed, right, they are blocked. So again, attempts to edit which is not allowed, or if we just try and print this document, so unauthorized printing, or attempts to copy and paste content from this document to some other document, right, are also blocked. Right. So this is very similar. So once content is secured, then whether it is going to people within the enterprise or outside to unauthorized recipients, for example, as what you're seeing now, right, the usage policies remain within the content and they are applied uniformly. And the content is constantly visible as to what is happening, who is doing what with this information, when and from where. Right. So what we've seen here are a set of demos of how seamless integration between Symantec DLP and Secure File Secure can be used to protect content within the enterprise, but almost as importantly, protect content as it goes to external agencies, right? To business partners, customers, vendors, cloud, mobile devices. We were not able to cover the mobile devices demo, but if any of the audience members are interested, we are very happy to run a similar session for mobile devices where protected content is going to, for example, an iPad, and then what happens when this information is attempted to be accessed by, within the iPad, or for that matter, protected information is going and using systems like Dropbox or Box.net, it's being synced and shared with external agencies, and then as they use this from the cloud service, what is the experience around this? So the idea of today's webinar, and we're coming to the last 2 or 3 minutes of this webinar, was to showcase, number one, a seamless method of implementing enterprise security policies to information when it is within as well as outside of the enterprise, right? And to also gain visibility to what is happening to this information as it is going within and outside of the enterprise. So that brings us to the close of this webinar, and of course we are taking questions constantly on the chat. A couple of ways of reaching out to us in case any of this is interesting is we are participants in the InfoSecurity event in London. That is the week after next, from the 29th of May, if I remember correctly. Please see us on stall N90 if you're there. We are also speaking as well as exhibiting at the Symantec Vision event, which happens from 5th to 8th of May in Las Vegas. Please see us at stall 137, or you can write to us at symantec@secro.com or visit our website. There are any number of methods of reaching out to us in case there is interest. Okay, with this, Lynn, we are going to close this webinar. We're just about overrun a little bit on the time, but thanks a lot, everyone, for your patience.
No.
Yeah. Go ahead, Lynn.
Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you at either InfoSecurity or Symantec Vision. Thank you, Vishal.
Thank you, Lynn. Thanks a lot, everybody, for your patience.